Hey, so another video here, talking about the Exodia project and an interesting duel that happened. This go around I'm using a slightly different deck, and I'll actually explain what I'm doing this time. Maybe make things a little easier for people. So, Royal Magical Library, basically, you use a spell, and it gains a counter. And when it has 3 counters, you can remove all counters to fucking draw another card. So basically it turns each spell activation into a third of a card. Upstart Goblin just draws 1. It's literally completely neutral because I don't give a fuck about life points in this deck. Bamboo Swords are the secret to this deck. Cursed does effectively nothing in this scenario. It just allows you to use Golden, which lets you draw 2 cards. So here, I'm doing that, drawing another Cursed using Library. I decide here to Magical Mallet, which lets me essentially mulligan. You don't get the mallet back, so technically it's card negative, but it can help. Here I draw 2 more upstarts, which as I said are basically 3. Royal Magical Library ticks. I draw a double summon, which lets me do the other library, which effectively turns each spell into 2/3 of a card. So here I'm Foolish Burial Goodsing. That lets me take 1 spell from my graveyard, or 1 spell from my deck, and put it in my graveyard. I choose Cursed Bamboo Sword, which does have a useful effect. When thrown into the graveyard, you can grab any bamboo sword from your deck that you want. So obviously in this case going to go for Golden because I have 3 copies of that. That's another 2 draws, which will actually put this library online, so I can do that. Broken Bamboo Sword is actually exactly nothing. It's literally just an enabler for other Bamboo Sword cards. Gold Moon Coin is a super useful card. You give your opponent 2 cards in your hand and draw 2. This is a surprise tool for this particular variety of this deck. Here I'm dualitying. That lets me see the top 3 cards of my deck and pick 1. I pick an arm. So here, obviously letting the library tick, and now I'm using Gold Moon Coin. And you might be confused if you know anything about this game, because what I've done here is I've given my opponent 2 of the most important cards in my deck. The goal of this deck is to draw all 5 of those cards. And that's a victory. And I just gave my opponent 2 of them. Really don't know what I was thinking there. It's part of why this game is, notable. Another Bamboo Sword, standard things. Okay, now here I'm using a card called Gift Exchange. Wherein both players will banish 1 card, and then at the end of this turn, that card goes to the opponent. Here, you can see that I banished the Exodia head. Again, why did I do that? Dumb decision, or whatever. Opponent banished some card, who cares what it is, it doesn't matter for this deck. Into the Void is another effectively card-neutral card in this deck. Terraforming gets chicken games, which are also effectively just card-neutral cards and nothing else. So, here I'm pretty much guaranteed to work through my whole deck. So, I'm doing that. A copy of Exchange, which is another new card in this deck. We both show our entire hands to each other and pick 1 card out of our hands. There are 2 copies of that in this deck. Magical Stone, that's effectively lets you reuse Bamboo Swords, but I don't really think I need to worry about that in this particular run because it's quite insane. So here I just draw my entire deck effectively. That's basically always the strategy with Exodia decks like this one, so, it's whatever. That's what the game do, as they say. So right, here I've drawn my entire deck, and as you can see, that includes another exchange. So I'm placing some, decently notable cards face down. for no other reason than to give my opponent less options, because I'm hoping they see what I'm trying to do here. Funnily enough, they seem, from that hand, to be running a not entirely dissimilar deck. I'll pause and show you for a second here. They have an Upstart Goblin, a Drowning Mere Force, an Exodia support card, which really isn't all that good, and of course the 3 pieces that they've gained over the course of my turn. I stole a Cup of Ace from them, which is just a silly card that I'm not even going to worry about, using, because who cares. Again, what I want to do is I want them to take the leg, and they do. So, end phase. Funnily enough, they give me head. I get their head. And if you remember, I gave them head as well. So now what I've done is I've assembled the 5 pieces of Exodia in my opponent's hand and gave them a free victory. I just think it's really silly, and I think it's hilarious that they just so happen to also be running an Exodia deck. Not a good Exodia deck, mind you. I can show you their list. From opponent's deck. Okay, so, some pretty standard hand traps, some, stall cards, 3 Cup of Ace. I think this guy's a Duel Links player. Again, more stall cards here, some counter cards, standard stuff. Hand traps, that weird Exodia support card that nobody cares about. But yeah, I just thought that was a really silly game, not just because, haha, making my opponent win, but also because, he was also running an Exodia deck with all 5 pieces, so that was really amusing. Yeah, thanks for checking this out.